Jimmy and JoAnne, I know that the people of Libya have got to be looking at what we're looking at and feeling a bit nervous. Joe Biden is basically in prime position to carry on with Obama's Libya model. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing okay. What the Libyans know and what they tell us is that the U.S. has to be cleaned up if they're going to ever be cleaned up, and they know that.
We've heard that from some friends in Italy, one in Germany, one in Bulgaria. You know, we've got friends in all parts of the world. We had most of them call and say, you know, I've got to get that mess cleaned up there because it's affecting all of us. So, you know, there's a big weight on our back, but you know, Jason, I really believe it's time to stop trying to wake up the 80% that are brain dead, and let's go join hands with all the lions and tigers and wolves, sharpen our claws and be prepared.
Right. We want to make sure we're not suggesting that anybody resort to violence or take any kind of justice into their own hands. But when you say clean up the mess, put a point on that.
Okay. Well, you know, there are politicians that have completely shredded their vows and promises to the electorate, to the people that have been elected, and you know, we need to make sure that those folks are out of office and never get elected again. They're exposing themselves is the good part, and to sit back and wait for somebody to go in there and clean their backside for them, it's not going to happen. They're all, you know, there's not anybody that we found yet. If you remember in Texas, whenever Adolph Abbott was coming out with these draconian measures, all the politicians said, oh, we're going to do something about it. And then they opened their session and they've done nothing. So, you know, it's a real disappointment. That's Texas.
Well, there's a lot of bought off politicians.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them. And the problem is, Jason, we have a real problem with integrity.
Yeah.
And we don't have a leader in this country. And it's a real problem. There's a whole lot of people in this country that voted in the last election, not for a man, but for their country. Yeah. They knew what was going to happen if their country was not supported. And all those people are awake and aware, and they have been disenfranchised. And, you know, I don't think they're going to rise up and take any guns to the streets, but they're going to step back and say, no, not going to happen. You know, we're not going to comply.
You know, 75 to 100 million people say, you know, this mask is a bad deal. This is a bad deal. A vaccine doesn't look like a vaccine. You know, if 100 million people say, wait a minute,
we're not going to do it, then it doesn't happen. They can't do it. They can't affect to force that many people. They can't do it. So I think this is what Jimmy's saying. This is what the Libyans are saying. You know, we all look to America for freedom and for something, you know, that shining city on the hill or whatever it was called, you know, by Reagan. We all look there, or the whole world looks there. And let me tell you something. They all know that the election was stolen. Let's put it that way. They all know that, Jason. They all know it. They talk about it.
But the problem we're in is that even saying that could get us booted off of YouTube. And I want to make sure, I mean, it's ridiculous that we're in a version of the United States. We're saying that, JoAnne, can actually have a direct impact on our livelihood, because if YouTube removes us and people can't see this show, we're not able to tell everybody that we're going to be starting the sponsor exclusive show in about 25 minutes. People can join us on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, patreon.com/crowdsource the truth, or subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just a fact that YouTube and Twitter.
Let's talk about something. We're going to talk about something we can talk about, and that's about the disclosure that I've been talking about for 40 years about USA Inc., about admiralty law, maritime law, how all the states, all the corporations, all the courts are not courts of law. They're admiralty law courts. They're for-profit foreign corporations. And that is all being disclosed, not just at one site, side after side after site. And they have released the documents where the USA Inc. was declared bankrupt. And that was done in Florida. That document's been released. Now, that one's a little hard for me to buy because the same guys that own the USA Inc. are printing all the money. So it'd be impossible for them to not continue to fund one of their bastard children, you know. But the fact is that, if they're releasing $2 trillion a day to all these foreign corporations, it's hard to swallow that amount and hope that the dollar will ever be accepted any place. So there's a lot of things we can talk about. There's a lot of disclosures coming out. We're continuing to pop a lot of balloons that have been holding people up for all these years. And, the ministers that have gone along with this mess to keep their 501c3 status, they're being hammered. All the religions, the bricks and mortar structures are being looked at. You haven't protected us. You've been lying to us. And even the churches are stepping up, claiming that they've done laboratory testing on some kind of a poison nail that somebody's trying to give you, and have recommended that all the people belonging to that church who happens to have a head office in Rome should be shot with something that might damage them or kill them. Those kinds of things are unacceptable. Separation of church and state has been with us forever. And when you go back to our history and you look at how the corporations, all the protections were put in place for the people, where corporations could not operate outside their own. And way back there, I don't remember what the date was on it, but it was 18 something, where an heir of a clerk allowed corporations to be called a human being and gave them rights and entitlements. And based on that, every judge and every phony bastard that's sitting with a black robe on the bench has treated corporations with rights and entitlements as people only have. Those things are being disclosed. Those things are being exposed. And that should give us all a better basis to determine just how much good our government and our politicians are doing for us, and what we need to do to try to correct those errors. Get them back on track. If they won't do it, then we need to put somebody there. We'll put them on track.
Yeah. It's a big concern right now, guys. I think everybody is feeling a lot of uncertainty. There's an article here in The Atlantic, which I generally don't trust, but I always like to check multiple sources, see what other things are saying. This seems to agree, Jimmy. Corporations or people is built on an incredible 19th century lie. People are going to have to dig into that. And we see that they're talking about Harriman Railroads. So
yeah, that's right.
This is a name that's frequently coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. I've got that covered in pretty good depth. Well, actually, the Marshall Report just described that. I've been talking about that for a long time. But, forever, Jason, everybody has looked at me like I've been smoking some high-test dope. Because, no, the courts are courts of law. No, they're not. The first thing is, we've been under martial law since Lincoln's time. And when you see the stripes horizontal on the flag, that means that's a wartime flag. The peace flag of the United States, the stripes go up and down.
Vertical.
Vertical. Yeah, vertical. And we've been under military flag since Lincoln's time. We've never been out of military law.
American flag with the stripes going up and down. They always go left to right.
That's the peacetime flag. Horizontal is wartime. Vertical is peacetime.
Oh, you mean hanging it vertically?
No. It's a completely different flag. The stripes go this way with the stripes over here. When the stripes go this way, we're talking about the same shape of the flag, but the stripes vertical is peacetime, not turning the flag sideways. I'm talking about the flag having the stripes up and down on the right-hand side. And the war flag stripes horizontal on the right-hand side. And we have been under the military flag, under admiralty law, under maritime law since Lincoln's day. That has never been disclosed. Then you put the braid around the flag, and the court is an admiralty law court. That's the military court on land. And if a court is flying the color of the admiralty law court, then they have to have an authorization from the qualified military in that area.
The provost marshal.
And none of them have it. They don't know about it. The judges do not know about it. Now, they do know that they get to participate in the profits on all the fines and penalties that they lay out. They know that, but they don't know why. And so, you've got the deep state guys, the Khazarian mafia, have been lying to everybody forever. And so a lot of people are pawns not even knowing it.
I got out of jury duty because I went up and asked the judge if she knew what that gold braid around her flag meant. She turned around and looked at it and she said, no, I didn't even know it was there. I said, that means you're an admiralty law court. And I am a targeted individual, and I will not stand on a jury.
And her clerk was hammering away the keys.
She pulled it up. She said, she's right. And the judge says, she said,
we don't want you around here.
You're excused, she said.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of things we can talk about, Jason, that are being finally.
There you go.
Well, but this, I mean, again, so it's always interesting when these things come up because I really like to run them down. This is talking about flag urban legends. So I don't know.
I don't care what they say, Jason.
They're not right.
The vertical stripes is a peacetime flag. Horizontal stripes is war flag.
We see some of those vertical flags flying around in Texas.
But you also got to remember the people that are providing all this misinformation own all the media. So, of course, they don't want everybody to know that. They also paint Lincoln as really a good guy. The law of 1871 is finally being exposed for what it is. And they said, oh, no, that was negated in some other law. That's bullshit. The law of 1871 converted the Constitution of the United States to USA Inc. And Washington, D.C. was laid out as a Baphomet. It's got satanic symbols all over it. It's got all the Greek gods and everything in the rotunda.
Oh, you know what I wanted to tell you guys?
Of Satanism.
I thought about you earlier today, Jimmy, because a video came up on YouTube talking about the Dodge brothers who had started the car company, and the logo, I don't know if you've seen it, but the original, there it is. So take a look at this Dodge Brothers logo. First of all, it features that 6-pointed star.
Yeah.
Now this one's got the map of the world behind it, but I saw one that looked like it had a serpent on it.
Yeah.
Pretty weird logo, right?
That's right.
Anyway.
Well, Jason, the menorah was a symbol of Judaism forever. It wasn't until 1850 or so that this star was put up there. There's a lot of things. The things we all have to finally accept is that the bad guys have owned all the media, all the printing presses, all the media forever.
I think that's why they hate me.
Yeah. And so, we have been struggling trying to find out, first of all, what is the truth? And then if you start to pass out some truth, then they're going to haul your ass to jail. They're going to sue you. They're going to shut you down. And if you think what the communists have done in Russia, in China, in Vietnam, and other places, hey, listen, wake up, everybody, look around the corner.
Well, it's right now. It's
right here.
I saw Rand Paul on with George Stephanopoulos today.
Yeah.
And he was discussing how it is important that we go. He's going to start an investigation of elections. He's going to go to every state. And Stephanopoulos said, I want you to say right now that there was no fraud in this election. And Rand Paul said, I'm not. He said, listen, you're a reporter. You're taking the other side. He said, you're supposed to be a stakeholder. You're being a stakeholder. He said, you just need to be reporting the news and bring on somebody to argue with me, but not you. You're just a talking head, you know? And Stephanopoulos said, I want you to say that. There's no proof. There's this, there's that. He said 87 cases were thrown out. And Rand Paul said they were thrown out because they never looked at the evidence.
No standing.
He said they had no standing. And he said that doesn't matter. It was never proven. And went on and on. And Rand Paul finally said, listen to you. He said, media has gone outside its bounds. You're a journalist. You're not a stakeholder in this. You're not going to argue this point with me.
But he's not a journalist.
Yeah, he's not
Correct.
a journalist. See,
he's a CIA guy. He was working for Bill Clinton for years before he was on the news. And this is the standard operating procedure. You leave the cabinet of a president or the military, and somehow you become a CNN correspondent. You leave the military and you go and work for a cybersecurity firm or some private intelligence firm like this guy, John Brennan, the London Center for Public Policy. You work for a think tank. These are all fingers on the hands, branches growing off the tree, and it's amazing. I really do believe that Twitter itself and Facebook and all of these things, these are themselves the deep state. This is why Donald Trump was unable to take any action against Twitter, and nothing has been done about that.
Have you got a long arm, Jason? Can you reach around and pat JoAnne on the back? Because I think JoAnne is responsible for getting that criminal piece of garbage that was the Libyan representative of the UN. We've outed her so much that she's resigning, and she's saying the people who are trying to run this country are all nothing but thieves.
Whoa.
Yeah,
wow.
She's being replaced.
Yeah, she's been replaced.
She's being replaced. Remember we talked about that, how she's being replaced, but she also came out and she said the kleptocrats.
Yeah, that's
she calls them kleptocrats are going to try to stop are are going to try to stop the election in Libya because they're thieves. They're stealing without authority. They just take whatever they want. They hold their position with lies and threats and arms. And, we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk quite a bit about what's going on in Libya as far as the tribes and what they're doing. There's some moves by the Muslim Brotherhood to try to put off the election, but I talked to the tribes today and they said that won't stand, that all the people in Libya understand that there will be an election and nobody's going to it's not going to be put off. So we're going to talk about that. Stephanie Williams. Yeah, she said kleptocrats will try to block the Libyan election as she leaves.
And these are all the people she's been supporting forever.
These are all the people that she put on her little council that got, bribed in there.
I wonder if we could DM her and ask if she might tell us something we don't already know.
She asked us, she sent us that email. She said, can you tell me what I need to do next?
No,
I would like to get in touch with her, though. Yeah. I would like to speak to her because these people who think they're going to understand Libya in 10 minutes go away scratching their head wondering why they don't have any idea what's going on. It's a different culture. It's an ancient culture, and you can't just walk in there like you would walk into somebody's, oh, this is the CEO here and this is this person here and I'm going to talk to them and get this solved. It doesn't work like that there, especially when you have the deep state of Turkey breaking the rules and the laws of all the agreements, and Turkey is a NATO country and nobody says anything and they know they'll get away with it.
He's got a new best friend.
Joe Biden. Right. Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to spend some time talking about tonight, is basically what the tribes of Libya have to say about Bidenism in America and what they anticipate that might do in terms of emboldening Erdogan. Definitely, Joe Biden was on the original, the OG crew that destroyed Libya in the first place. So you got to be a little bit concerned if you're living there and he's back in power.
Yeah.
What they asked me today, Jason, they said before we leave, the other person who was leading your country a few days ago, is he safe?
We don't know.
The reason they asked this, Jason, is because they see him in the same effect as what happened to their leader. They worry that he will be killed. His family will be killed. He'll be his bank accounts will be frozen. His money will be taken. Lies will be told about him, more and more lies, and he'll be destroyed as a human being. And this is what their worry is, And so they asked me kind of very quietly. They said, before we leave, how about our friend, the other leader you had? Is he safe? That's what they asked me.
He's not.
And that's a big worry for them.
Well, they know what they're talking about because, people who have been through abuse, they see the signs coming from a mile away. And I share their concerns. We've been hearing that Deutsche Bank will no longer do business with Donald Trump. I mean, this is absolutely absurd. We've had despicable, horrible individuals hold the office of President of the United States. I'm talking about Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. They go on to get massive book deals and basically rise to tremendous wealth as a result of being president. Here we see Donald Trump, who, some of our viewers think that he's been in on it from the beginning. Some of our viewers think perhaps he's incompetent. Some of our viewers love him and think that he's been suppressed by the deep state. Whatever it is that people think, he's in a much worse position now than he was before he was president.
Yeah. He's, I don't like what he's done, but because I think he's been compromised forever. I think he's really done very, very little. But, the last thing I want to say on our preview show, probably the most important part of my section of the show is going to be, I'm going to give a 2-minute dissertation about probably the best motorcycle ever made. 1976, Suzuki made a Wankel-powered motorcycle, most sophisticated, most modern ever. They put so much into it, almost bankrupted the company because old motorcyclers, that look like a armpit with eyes, they don't want anything new. They want an old too long motorcycle goes chugga. And so I'll give a real short dissertation on the Wankel Suzuki. Yeah, they made it.
Sure,
really
people don't even know what a Wankel engine is. I said most people, I'm sure, don't even know what a Wankel engine is. And ironically, I believe it was invented by a German, but it really has only ever been commercialized by Japanese companies, most notably Mazda in the RX-7.
Yeah.
It's got fewer moving parts than a normal internal combustion engine, and they're generally very smooth, you know, the rotary engines, but we'll hear
run a
more about
long
that.
time.
Instead of the piston going up and down, it goes in a circle.
Yeah.
And so all the movement's so smooth. A piston is changing direction every millisecond or so. And a Wankel just spins, and when you
They
throttle,
last
it
a
just
long time, don't they?
smooths right up. And,
They do
it's a
last
different
a
deal.
lot of miles,
you know,
but they're
the thing, I hate to
inefficient.
give Wankel credit for it because he was one of the worst Nazis that ever drew a breath. But
Oh.
he was a genius.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's an ingenious design for sure, but I think difficult to manufacture, and it never really became that popular. Saint Earth owns a Suzuki motorcycle, and we'll get into all of that. I want to make sure that people who are watching know that Jimmy and JoAnne have tons of firsthand knowledge of what went on in Libya, primarily due to the time that they spent there from 2007 to 2011, where they were firsthand witnesses to the United States-led destruction of Libya. They're also the only known individuals to ever escape from Al-Qaeda. So I hope that people will sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, sponsors of the show there, or on Subscribestar and Patreon for Crowdsource The Truth can, of course, watch the sponsor exclusive segment that's coming up in just under 10 minutes. But if you sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on Patreon, you can also order their DVD. You're going to get free shipping. It's a great value and a great way to learn more about Libya and to learn more about Jimmy and JoAnne. Anything quick, guys, before we make the transition over to the sponsor exclusive segment?
No, I think everybody needs to come see us in 5 minutes because we've really got a whole lot of disclosure on the USA Inc., all that's happened. We've got updates on Libya that are contemporary, and really the thing that I hope everybody does is study a lot of the information we're going to put forward tonight, because there's a huge body of information that will finally open up your eyes about what's been going on for a long, long time in this country, and why things that happened in D.C. didn't make any sense. So God bless y'all. We'll see y'all in 5 minutes.
Absolutely. We'll see everybody over there on Patreon and Subscribestar. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We couldn't do this show without you, the generous viewer sponsors, and we will be right back. Thanks for watching.